There's rarely an ideal situation for taking a photo. Lens flare is something most photographers would like to avoid. Unfortunately, the sun or other bright specular lights often get into our image from oblique angles. This simple test allows us to measure the angle and intensity of such a light source. The laser pointer is moved in 10-degree steps away from the edge of the viewing angle of the lens, both to the right and the left. We set the camera to its maximum aperture, both fully wide angle and fully zoomed. There's a pattern on the screen in front of the camera to allow it to focus and expose the image. Glare that comes from diffuse sources like bright clouds can also degrade an image dramatically. The light bounces around inside the lens and the camera body, landing on the sensor at odd angles, which reduces the contrast in the final image. We use this veiling glare sphere to determine how much glare gets into the system. We test to see how much of the blackness of the black dot is lost, and likewise how much of the whiteness surrounding the black dot is lost. We only perform this test with high-end cameras. Resolution is measured in the middle and the four corners of this test chart in wide and telephoto modes and at a number of ISO settings. This is done using software that can determine the precise point where human vision can no longer resolve detail. We test the usability of the rear screen of the camera in bright light to see how well it copes. Taking images of fast-moving objects or events that are over very quickly requires the camera to react equally as fast. When you press the shutter, you want the image to happen, not a second or so later. The camera is set to auto and focused away from the target. We do this test at 1 metre and again at 8 metres. For cameras that have both live view and through the lens metering, we check both. The time is calculated by reading off the lights on the timing display panel in the image. Video is an increasingly important function on digital cameras, and it makes up 10% of the camera's overall performance score. We shoot 2 videos of around 60 seconds each, one in bright daylight levels and the other at much darker interior light levels. The camera is set to full auto function and mounted on a tripod. About a third of each video includes slow panning and zooming. There's a fan to help provide some more natural movement in the mannequin's hair, and the bear spins slowly. But otherwise the setup is very similar to what's used for still images. There are hundreds of individual tests that go into our appraisal of each digital camera. These films are just a brief peek into the labs, but you can always get the full results at choice.com.au.